Nuno Espirito Santo led Forest to 7th place finish last season and got them back to European football, so it seemed he was safe in his job until he wasn't. Ange Postecoglou replaced him and not even won a single game out of the 6 they've played in. In the summer, we saw a lot of Marinakis and Postecoglou photos and news suggesting that they both were friends, also because of that great connection they both have. So it's still very notable that obviously Nuno Marinakis is an owner that he gets what he wants, right? It's a owner that he will do a lot of things to get what he wants. And it seems inevitable to someplace, somewhere in the future, we're seeing Nuno Espirito Santo to get fired from Nottingham Forest and Ange Postecoglou getting brought in. And I mean, it felt like a breakup to watch in real life, seeing all this happen while Nuno Espirito Santo was still at the helm. But for us, a lot of people on Twitter was talking about this as well, a lot of fans. I mean, it was very real, the possibility of bringing Ange Postecoglou on the team. We did see some problems already last season towards the end when Marinakis got the argument with Espirito Santo in the pitch. But kind of seemed like Espirito Santo had an amazing season on Nottingham Forest. And I feel like his job probably was the safest of them all. Looking at the Premier League shops that they were like maybe on danger, like Graham Potter was one of them, and Mourinho was one of them. I never expected Espirito Santo to be the first manager to be sacked this year. I felt it was very, very early to make this switch happen. I think Nuno managed 3 games into the Premier League season. He won 1 of them, drew 1, and lost 1. So not an amazing start to the season at all, but also not a bad one. No one that justifies firing Espirito Santo just 3 games into the season. And obviously he also had all arguments. He had Edu Gaspar, who was ex-Arsenal sporting director, I think. So all that arguments with the director room or the staff at the board of Nottingham Forest, and Marinakis being the type of owner he is, and having Ange Postecoglou ready to line up for the job if something would happen. It kind of makes sense as to why Marinakis fired him so early, but for me it was very surprising. I don't think that was a great decision at all. And we're seeing in terms so far that it's not going well so far. I think, again, Espirito Santo had the team drop pre-season, right? He had the whole team had a full pre-season to work with him, to get his ideas whatsoever, to play 3 games under him. And in a moment like just like this, you get Ange Postecoglou into the team to be brought in. I mean, that was like very, very early. The team just went through a full preseason with Nuno Espirito Santo at the helm. She has a very different play style to think of his Forest team than what Ange Postecoglou might have for that team already. So it seemed very early to make the switch. And also I think that maybe after like the whole things about the article about Nuno Espirito Santo having the argument with Edu Gaspar and Marinakis and his relationship not being as close as it was last year, I think Marinakis kind of waited until the first international break he had to try and bring in Postecoglou, and I think that also happened. So maybe I think like in the last 2 games, maybe Nuno's future is already an answer or destined to be him being sacked. So again, I actually don't agree with the timing of the sacking and replacement. I thought it was very early to have this switch, probably because this team, especially the Espirito Santo, I think we can all see because we saw them play. Also, were an amazing team. I think battled for Champions League football throughout the entire season until like the last 5-10 games where they kind of fell off a little bit. But we saw like Espirito Santo get on the Nottingham Forest team playing us away with the 5-back defense that they had, and it was very successful for them because also they had very quick players who were very effective on the counter attack. Like I think Line was one of them. Chris Wood scoring goals like ever before. We saw a very different version of Forest than maybe we would expect to see, and we saw kind of more defensive version of Forest. What Nott and Postecoglou last year was, I would say, the exact contrast of what the Forest team was. Like Forest played a very deep low block in the defense, right? 5-back. They didn't want as much of the ball whatsoever. Nottingham Forest or the team on the angle won't have the ball at his feet. They played a very high line of like the very complete opposite of what Nottingham Forest does with the low block. Spurs were playing a very high line, and that was the same throughout the whole tenure that Ange was at Spurs. And we saw a lot of time, a lot of players, a lot of people criticize how Ange was sticking with that line, but like they had a lot of injuries to that defensive line. And a lot of times just getting exposed very easily against top teams. And a lot of people went to criticize and go after that high line stubbornness that Ange had in him, and I mean never gonna back down off it. So you have a team obviously who had an amazing year with Espirito Santo, playing that low block that they've had always played and whatever. To now go from that, just in a matter of a week, go from manager to the complete opposite of that, to go play a very high line, just inexcusable. Looking at the stats and the difference between Spurs and Forest last year, that actually is way higher for Spurs. That actually against was way higher for Spurs, and the ball possession is also way higher for Spurs. You can see through the stats that this is two very different sides of play style, and the mentality on the ball and off the ball, and what they want to do on the football pitch. So to go from this insane of a switch, it's just too absurd to think that's going to go and do any results in the first 6 months, a year, or whatever. And this Forest team, looking at every single player, a lot of these players, for this team, were made for style of football that Nuno Espirito Santo played. Nankovic and Murillo are both center backs, were made to play 5 at the back and played the low block. Since Nankovic now struggled a lot to the high line. A lot of the players he had in the offensive line was built for this moment, like Anderson as well. Like a lot of the players, a lot of this squad was built after this season, right? To were made to playing in this low block system, to be playing the counter-attack system as well. And to go from that to have a squad that's so destined and so built for this system, to try and put them to play in a different formation, because now they're playing a 4-3-1, I'm pretty sure, when they were playing, a 5-2-3 before Espirito Santo, or some sort of that formation. To go from that of a switch is just insane. As I keep continuing to say, we see a lot of stories where players kinda don't get the best out of themselves because they go through a lot of different managers, a lot of different mentalities, philosophies of football. They can't really always know what should do on the football pitch. I feel like this is something that's going to be very overwhelming for these players to go from such a radical change, like to spend like 1 to 2 years thinking about how to better play in this system, to now new manager comes in and it's exactly the same opposite as what you've been thinking or been playing the same football game for the past 2 years. Is that going to be very hard? And I think Marinakis didn't really think of that or thought about that. It's just decided to take the risk somehow because of his stubbornness, of also how his willingness to win, and because I think he didn't really like Espirito Santo at all throughout this summer. So a lot of things have gone on to this decision that I feel like is a very hard decision. I think a lot of people saw that when even like before even he was sacked, a lot of people saw Ange Camila. I think a lot of people were against it and knew that it was going to go to someplace bad for Nottingham Forest, and you're going to see that. And now they're on a 6-game winless streak. Okay, Forest were the 7th place last year, are now without a win in the last 6 games. And looking at the calendar of the 6 games, I don't think they're ridiculous games at all. They have Arsenal, Swansea, Burnley, Betis, Sunderland, and Midlands. Of these 6 games, Arsenal is a very difficult game to go against, and Betis is a difficult game to go against. They lost against Arsenal, they drew against Betis, I'm pretty sure. But the rest of the teams were pretty easy. Like Swansea is a championship side. You consider 2 goals in the final 10 minutes, or like final 5 minutes of the game, to lose in the Carabao Cup. So you have the Carabao Cup, less a trophy game, probably possibly win. So, I mean, against Swansea probably is the lowest low of this streak. Then like playing against Burnley and Sunderland, 2 teams who are promoted from Premier League. And when you think like Nottingham Forest 7th place team, these should be easy win games. Obviously Sunderland is a team that's done very well this season, has won a couple of games, but Burnley is not a team that's been amazing incredibly. We saw Spurs against Frank and also beat them very easily 3-0 the first game of the season. Nottingham Forest go to Burnley and draw the game. I feel it feels very wrong. And then in the last game, which was yesterday, Midlands again against I think like the Norwegian or the Danish. I feel like more the Danish team. To lose also against them feels also very bad. So that, like I'll accept this winless streak if that stretch was a very difficult stretch of games. If we're playing against high-level European teams, if we're playing against top 4 teams, top 4 contenders, I'll get that. But from that list of 6 games, only real hard games also was Arsenal and then Betis, which I will imagine will be kind of a 50-50 game, a game that Forest will probably try to fight and win. But I think this streak of games, and not even get a single win from any of them. And also, I think it's like 2 days from now, Sunday or Saturday, I'm not quite sure. They're playing against Newcastle. Newcastle team was always a top 4-5 contender, and also they've had some low start this season. I don't see Nottingham Forest go to Newcastle, go to Chesons Park and beat Eddie Howe. I don't see them be able to beat Newcastle in their home. So I don't think that this streak will end these weekends, and I think we're going to see Marinakis probably stick to Ange Postecoglou a bit more time than maybe a lot of people expect to, because it was his decision at the end of the day, and Marinakis feels the kind of stubborn owner that will stick by the decision to get with Ange. It's either that or one of those guys kind of backstab players, not players, like people, like he bet on Ange Postecoglou. Now as soon as things start going south, he kind of got rid of him. I see Marinakis as one of those. I think can end very early or very late. One of those. I don't think it can end up somewhere in the middle. Again, I think Ange is like Nuno Espirito Santo was a very big mistake. Now Nuno is at West Ham. Timo also is in very lot of trouble, which something that for us also was when Nuno came into the team and managed to turn them around. Nuno was a guy that rebuilt Wolves from the ground up, rebuilt Nottingham Forest from the ground up. Also, the investment they've had also helps, obviously, but also rebuilt up from the ground up. And now it's at West Ham. I don't know what's going to go, but different person goes to West Ham, gets them playing good football, gets them getting results. And Ange Postecoglou fails on Nottingham Forest. I think you can assume that this was a very bad decision. For now, my prediction and my assessment of this scenario by Marinakis, this decision by him, I think it is a very bad decision by Marinakis. I think this will very much backfire in his face. And again, if Nuno succeeds at West Ham, and if Ange fails at Nottingham Forest, I think this might go down as one of the worst decisions we've seen in Premier League in the past decades, by far.